I'm really excited to be here with you, so I feel really honored. I'm curious, how many of you are undergrads? Any graduate students? Nope. Okay. So what I'm going to do is walk you through kind of the experience that initially that I had doing what I've done in my career, and then walk you through what I know to be true, having worked with lots of Fortune 500 companies, lived in New York City, and worked with startups. So advice and tips I can give you, because I've been on the other side of the table interviewing people, and I've also been the one who's been interviewed. So I know the things and tips I can give you that will be really, I think, helpful in what you're doing. So I'm going to start off with, let me see if this works. Okay, that's the area that I grew up in. So I grew up in rural Minnesota, dirt roads. You know, the closest town was 4 miles away, and it had 350 people. The next closest town was like 4 miles away, 350 people. So that's where I grew up. I was the last of 5 children, and I was the only one to graduate from high school, the only one to graduate from college. My parents both had 8th grade educations. My brothers and my sister never completed school. My sister did go back and become a nurse, but that was my orientation growing up. My mother was determined that I go to school, so she made sure that I went to school and got my degree. And I'm one of the rare people, I think, that got a degree that I'm actually have used it throughout my career. So a lot of times we get degrees and then we wind up not using it, but it's fine as long as we get the education. That's the important thing. So I'm going to fast forward. So that's me. Actually, just a couple years ago, my commute was through Times Square. I worked for the largest agency in the world, managing billions of dollars of revenue. We're Google's biggest client. And to go from where I was to that, I mean, that is a pretty, I'll say in the tech space, I also became the VP of marketing. When I graduated from college, I wanted to be the VP of marketing for a Fortune 500 company. So that was my thing when I graduated. So I worked my way through school. My parents didn't have money to help me, and I wound up then, working retail jobs. I worked at McDonald's for a month. That only lasted a month though. I feel like chefette here, but it gave me experience. So all of those experiences added up. I think I had my first job when I was 13, and then have been in and out of corporate roles, that whole time. So I'm here actually launching an app on the island with Robin, my colleague here. And so when I heard that you were having this, Monique, who is with P1, which I'll talk about them, I asked her, is there any way that I could speak to any students who would be willing to listen to me, because I'd love to share just some insight and advice and tips and answer any questions you have and whatever I can do to help. So we're going to jump into it. So y'all are at some point going to get to graduation, and then the next phase of your life will begin. So that's such an exciting time. Then it's, what do I do? Like, who do I go to work for? How am I going to find that job? Who's out there that's hiring? And I know it's different on the island. I mean, I've lived on St. Martin, so I'm familiar a little bit with the island life. And many of you may stay here, and then some of you may venture out. Like Robin's daughter chose to leave the island, so she's working for a year and then going to school in the UK in a year. But it's like all those decisions that you have. And I remember myself even going. I started as a service rep out of college. My husband was in school, and I had a degree in advertising from the School of Journalism from the University of Oregon. But I worked my way up. I was a part-time temporary employee making $215 a week. And I also had a weekend job because I wasn't sure I'd be made permanent. My brother was with the phone company though, so I was like, okay, this is something. At that time, you join a company, you stay for life, you get a pension, and you call it good. Halfway through that ride for me, I became very aware as the market, jobs started changing. No one does that anymore. So I was kind of the last of that period. So with all of the dynamics I know that are on the fact that you're sitting here and have taken that step, and I've heard about how the tuition changed in the last couple of years and everything you've gone through to be able to be here, getting your education and doing whatever it takes. So it's a matter of how are we going to look at things, and I'm presuming you all are looking at it, the glass is half full. Because if you're this far, you can go anywhere. And if you've got the willingness to just do the day after day do what is right and do what the next intended thing. And I'm a believer, so I'm like, God gives me enough flashlight for one day and not any more than that so that I don't get overwhelmed. Because if someone would have told me in my early career when I'm answering phones like Pacific Northwest Bell, this is Lorraine, can I help you? You want to move your service? Sure, I can help you with that. Oh, you want to disconnect your service? Sure, I can help you. You know, from that to, you know, I mean, I led a global team at one point and had a team of 10 people in London. I helped HTC, the phone manufacturer, launch their HTC One phone. So I, went to Taiwan and Singapore and China. I mean, never mind. If you would have told me, my head would have probably spun. That just to even think that that would be possible. So it is all half of it or more is your perception and how you're viewing the opportunity. So the fact that you're sitting here, I just commend all of you. So dream job, next exit. So you may step out into a role that you feel is, okay, this is the right thing, it feels right, and you step out and you maybe decide, okay, for whatever reason, it may not be what you thought it was going to be. That's why I said some people start out, they've got a finance degree, they go into finance and they realize they hate being behind a desk and they really want to be a photographer and they go off in some completely different direction. So I'm a life coach also, so I did that while I was a managing director in New York, because when I was in college I thought I wanted to be a therapist. And my friends all said, oh, everybody's a psych major. I was getting straight A's and I loved it. But I decided to change careers being influenced by other people. So while what I've done has been like an amazing experience, I'm now out doing my own thing because there's a cost to pay doing the kind of work that I was doing. And it's like the golden handcuffs, which most of my peers probably wouldn't step out of that because the money and the perceived prestige, like I wasn't into that. That's not what the value of my life is more important than selling my soul to be in that kind of environment. So, millennial. So, how many of you would consider yourself a millennial between 18 and 34? Many of you? Okay. So, this again, I think it's awesome because you are changing the world and the way you are going into business. You're not accepting some of the things I had to accept when I went into the work world. I had an opportunity when I stepped out of the advertising role in New York that I volunteered at Adweek. So they have all the advertisers, like 100,000 people come together or maybe 200,000 from around the world, and they have all kinds of events and shows, and I actually won tickets to go see Snoop Dogg and Jadena from Tidal. They had some promotion. But I volunteered there, and the last day that I was helping people find where they were going, so I had a lanyard on, I'm like, my t-shirt, I'm part, rather than me being like wined and dined as a vendor or an advertiser, I'm there serving. So a guy came up to me and he said, I'm trying to find my session, could you help me? And I said, well, sure, which session? We had an app with all of the names of each of the sessions. He said, was this one the most important campaign in the world? I'm like, well, sure, yeah, it's in the Times Center main stage right there. And he said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I just left advertising to bring more mindful leadership into the world. He said, oh, that's interesting. He said, I maybe could use your help. And he pulls out his card. He said, we just finished this 10-day summit. 197 countries all come together and agree on the global sustainable goals to save, the earth, to end poverty, to create equality. He was the communications director for the United Nations. And I had no idea. I still didn't really know who he was until he walked away and I pulled his card. I was like, wow. So he said, why don't you follow up with me because I think I could use your help. So, out of that bravery of me stepping out and stepping into something that, so all of you are doing something you've never done before. And there's uncertainty, and what we have to do is just hold on to the fact that there's a higher power at work and we just have to walk the walk and everything will be revealed that we're supposed to know. So I wound up working with him and then was introduced to the youth organization, which is the largest millennial-led organization in the world, called ISAC. And I'm actually meeting with Don Marie to see if we can get a campus or get a chapter started here. You used to have one, and it allows and facilitates foreign exchange experiences for you to go to school in another country. And they help with the visa, they help with some of the living expenses, so you get to go somewhere else. If you haven't had the opportunity. I would have loved that. I mean, as far as I went was to Hawaii, which was good enough. I mean, I went on the student exchange program, but that was as far as I was able to go. So millennials and the generation that you represent, I mean, I believe are the best thing to happen to the world. I'm writing a book called Millennial 101 because there are so many people that don't understand. I talked to an investor yesterday that I'm helping him do some work with a young gentleman who's starting up a company called Stevia Kitchen. So it's like jams and jellies made with stevia. And he's complaining, and this guy's got to be barely past being a millennial himself. And he's like, oh yeah, those millennials, this and that. I said, with his response, I said, well, you realize the economic situation that they're stepping into, like he's not a boomer, I'm a boomer, but I take some responsibility for that. The fact that this generation is set at this moment to be not as well off as their parents were, that's a problem. So Robin and I have actually come together. He found me on LinkedIn, and we connected and started talking and Skyping, and I was like, you're all about millennials, I'm all about millennials, we need to get ourselves together, and we're now meeting with the youth organization of Isaac around the world to help do something to help you guys get out of student debt. I'm sure you're going to have some debt. I had debt when I got out, and I'm sure, whatever you're facing. So that's a whole nother story I could talk about. So there are 2 billion millennials around the world, and you are the first generation that are really global citizens. So I think when I grew up, I had like 2 snowy channels on a TV, little small TV, black and white. I might have heard about the Vietnam War on the news. There were, people were, the Beatles were, I'm really aging myself. But anyway, that was about as much as you would hear as anything the U.S. was involved with. But to be able to go see what's happening in Syria, or just go on my iPhone and find out something in some other country, I mean, that was unheard of. So you guys are really the first global citizens, and you're tech natives. So many of you have, you don't know what it's like to not have a smart device, or at least you all have one, chances are. So, the fact I grew up with a party line, 4 party line phones. We shared our phone line, 1 phone in the house, with 3 other families. So when I wanted to call my girlfriend, I'd have to go pick up the phone real gently and see, is anybody listening? I don't want them to, and then we call it rubbernecking. Some people would stay on and listen, to get all the gossip. So you guys are growing up in a whole different era. So when you look at what you really want, and I'm going to speak in general terms, but I have a feeling this is going to resonate in some way with most of you. You want to be part of some company that has a purpose. A company with a soul that's not just making money at the expense of people. So that's a fundamental thing that you want. Company culture. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit. When you interview with companies, you interview them as much as they're interviewing you. Because I call it a corporate marriage. We get the benefit in dating to date for a really long time before we decide, and sometimes we go, nope, not going to do it. When we get in the corporate dating world, it's like we maybe get to meet 1, 2, like in New York, we run people through the mill, so they wind up having to come in 6 times, and then sometimes don't even get hired, right? So it's a horrible, the turnover rate there is like close to 50%. Because millennials just get burned out. I mean, I stepped out, so I was like, done, I just can't see us doing this to people. So you interview them as much as they interview you. When you go in, here's some tips I'll give you. And this is from an executive recruiter once, actually, that this is what he tells people to do. When you have an interview, go early. So I'll say, being early is on time, being on time is late. Get there early. You can see what's happening in the office. You can see how people interact with each other. Ask to use the restroom. I need to use the restroom. You get to go in the restroom, just see how people are mixing and mingling with each other. The other thing that's really key, one of the biggest decisions you will make in your career, besides choosing what you do, is, I'd say, choosing a boss. Make sure you get to meet the person that you're going to be reporting to. I could tell you war stories. I've had good bosses and I've had bad bosses. And I think at this point, because of the bad experiences I had, I've become the opposite. And I mentor people, and which is why I'm here today. I just want to give back some of what I've been given so richly in experience over the time I've been working. So find out about the culture. If you find out who you're going to work for, and I'll talk a little bit, if they offer you a job, you may be really anxious to take it, but give yourself a little time to say, that's great, happy, let me think I'd like to sleep on it, or, give me a day. See if you can find some other people that have worked for that person. Because, they may come across as, oh yeah, we're so happy, and then you get behind, shut the door, and they're like, till the hun. I've experienced that, so it's really good, whatever you can do to get to a sense for the organization. Do you use Glassdoor here at all with reviews of companies? Probably not. So in the US, we have something called Glassdoor. So it's like a Yelp for employers. So people go on and they'll say what their experience is, what kind of salaries they're getting, what kind of company behavior goes on behind closed doors, and employees will look at that before they go in to even interview somewhere. And then some companies can become avoided, and then they wind up hiring some consultant to come in and fix their culture. So that's just some tips around who you're going to be working for and the environment that you're going to go into, because you think about it, if you're spending like a third of your life, or a third of a year, we'll put it that way, almost a third of a year, in that environment with those people, whoever those people are. So make sure you have a good feel and a really good vibe for them, and before you say, yes, I'm in. So another thing is, I know authenticity is really important, and I have 2 millennial daughters. The youngest one has called me on things, challenged me on things. I was like, why aren't you like everything? Now she's 26, so I don't deal with that as much, but it's because you want authenticity and you want to know why. I have a friend actually he's actually a young guy that used to spend the night. My house used to be the place people would come if their parents would be acting crazy, and they were like, I need someone, I can't stand my dad, I gotta get, so they'd come to my house, right? Because I was like Dr. Doolittle's with all the pets, and I was a safe place to come. Well, he's now with the military, and we were talking, I was posting things about millennials and saying, I need help with millennials. He's like, they're challenging us and going to the firing line, they want to know why and what. I'm like, hey, the way we've been doing things is not working. I mean, and you are going to be the ones to help change it. So team environment, because you're so collaborative. So I hired a publicist for a brief period of time when I first went out on my own, and she wound up getting me connected with a couple of TV stations. So I do go on air once a month talking about millennials in Arizona. One of the topics they wanted to talk about one time was, so your boss is a millennial, now what? I'm like, now what? Like, lucky you, because the collaboration typically that you will bring into the workplace will be more open. You'll be open to more ideas than management that's already in place. So what you need to know is just know that going in, that on the good side is, because I talk with a lot of people who have made that transition from school into the work environment. So a young gentleman, he went into a bank, and he was in the armed forces, but then he was a colonel or something, and so he went right into management. And he's now with the bank, and I actually asked, he said, well, if you'd like to talk to a couple of people that work for me just to get some info, that I'd be happy to arrange that too. My daughter actually met him on a flight coming to see me in New York. And so I talked with him, and then I talked with them, and they said, it's so great because he's making us think about things in a different way. And even though we've been doing things the same way for so long, it's just makes it more fun coming to work because we're not these robots just doing the same thing over and over again. So just know that you'll have that ability, and just don't give up. If management isn't initially open to your ideas, they may be, so hopefully. And then a cause, like the generation you're part of really care about causes. And a lot of Tom's shoes, for example, like people will, in the US, they'll pay a little bit extra to buy a pair of Tom's shoes rather than some other shoes. They might be cuter, whatever, cheaper, because the company stands for something good. I think part of the turnover rate that I'm seeing in the US is based on the fact that there are a lot of greedy companies. You know, the CEO of the company I worked for at the very end in New York made $63 million in 2015. That was his salary. And then I was hiring entry-level people in New York City for $40,000 and $45,000 a year. So they'd all team up, go into an apartment together, because the city's expensive. My little studio was $2,500 a month. And it was like a 700 square foot little plot of, you know, bed and couch and whatever I could get in there. But it's ridiculous. I mean, it's so standing for your, you know, standing true to your own values and not selling out. That's the one thing I'll say, that, you know, stay true to whatever's really in your heart, and, you know, don't sell your soul, because you don't have to. Because companies are changing, because your generation is forcing that, and I'm trying to do everything I can to pull it along, because I've been there on the other side and I know how we can do it. So it's kind of like I'm the, you know, the mole got out. And then happiness. I mean, I wrote a LinkedIn article, and it was so interesting to see how many people liked it and shared it. And I said, time and happiness as the new currency. I mean, the one thing we don't ever get back is our time. We can get money back. If we're fortunate, we can get our health back. And our loved ones, if we lose them, we can't. But in terms of what we do in our life, the one thing we can't get back is the time. So choose it wisely. Choose wisely what you do. I mean, the fact that you're investing your time right now in school, like, awesome. I mean, it's one of the best things you could be doing. So I thought this was interesting too, because this is so true. By failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. So some of the other advice that I would give you going in to meet with whoever the company is, let me see what's on the next slide. Yeah, this is like, are you ready? Are you ready to go meet with them? Like, I know that they're having such great topics for you all here. It's great to prepare you. I don't remember ever getting to do this when I was trying to figure out life when I was younger. But go online and Google the company. Go see what they're, you know, depending on who the company is, maybe they've got public records, maybe they've got some kind of an annual report that they have to file. See what's happening with them in the news. You know, whatever you can find online, research them. Go see what they're doing on social media. Go see what do they have on LinkedIn. Do they have a profile? Well, they should have a profile on LinkedIn. But go see what is out there that's free, because one, when you go in, you look intelligent, and you have some talking points that you can have some notes. Like, have your own notes. You know, do a little. When I went to that company in New York, I actually went online and got their annual report, and I read their annual report. It's like, how boring, but I read their annual report, so I had a really good sense for, as a company, what they were doing, how their structure was set up, and so I had a fairly intelligent conversation, even though I wasn't an employee. So it was just that one little bit extra that you do. You don't go in there asking them to, you know, tell me about your company. Like, you go find out what you can first, and then, you know, that looks good on your part. Here's one of the other things. So here's the interesting thing. When you're applying for a job or you're looking for a new opportunity, the first place an HR manager goes is online. And they'll see what kind of social media posts do you have, like what free information is available. I did actually a radio interview with a woman who's a TV host in Philadelphia, I guess. And we were talking about what are some of the things that go wrong or go right. So being aware of what you're doing out on social media. I'll say, I recently had an experience personally, so I'll share a little bit. So I'm part of LinkedIn's, their 2016 recognized ProFinder top people. So they will refer business opportunities to me based on, I guess, how I've engaged with people on LinkedIn. So this guy reaches out to me from New York, and he's like, you're the perfect candidate. And this was like a contract job, so I was going to help them with their social media and setting up their communications. They were a medical company. So I'm like, score. So I get here, right, and I message him back, so just following up, wanted to see where you're at, and here was his response. He said, you know, you were the perfect candidate, but if you would remove some of that political stuff off your Facebook page, you might want to think twice about having that out there. And I'm thinking, wow. So I actually then decided I can still be me, but I need to make my profile private so that I had opened it up. I had it private when I was with the agency, and then I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm a free bird, right? So I'm going to open up my profile. I'm not, but you have to be conscious of that, because that, whatever you're putting out there, employers are going to look at. And that's just, you know, Twitter, Pinterest, like Snapchat's probably the only potential safe, and that's not even really safe. So just to be aware of that. On the flip side, getting on LinkedIn, like if you're not on LinkedIn, put yourself out there, even if it's minimal information, like, you know, that you're in school. Like, I connect with all kinds of students, and I think I have like 50, close to 5,500 people. Actually, this is really funny. I posted something when I got here, because Robin and I were meeting on a potential land development here to create a smart community, the first vacation time, like vacation share smart community. So I posted a photo and said, you know, life is good. As an entrepreneur, I can work where I choose to work under the terms I choose. Now, granted, I worked for other companies for 30 years, so so I said, you know, it's good. That posting, and I have like a picture, obviously, the ocean behind me, and everyone's like freezing wherever else they are. And that thing like almost 8,000 views by people looking at that, and then I can see my former employers, I can see who's, you know, who's looking. So, but just the fact that you have the option to, your life is a canvas right now, and you're in the perfect place to really think about what do you really want to do, and make sure that the things you're doing are really in alignment with your values, and having a real clear picture on that. So LinkedIn is really good. The other thing I'll say about LinkedIn, whatever industry you're in, there are people writing about your vertical. So say you're in the travel, or you're in finance, and there are things, people are writing, there are new things coming out all the time, whether it's a new product offering, or some bank does something, or some airline does something, and people will go out there and, you know, comment about it or write something about it. You can go out and make a comment. You're a student. Here's the one thing I told my team once. I had team meetings with them. We wound up having work-family meetings because the millennials started rolling out. I'm like, what's happening? Like, we're getting cherry-picked. Like, you know, other agencies in San Diego. I was in San Diego, and then they're picking people. So I'm like, okay, we're going to get in a conference room. We're going to pretend that I'm not who I am, and we're going to just talk about what's going on. So it became this really awesome dialogue that we had, and I learned all kinds of things as a result of that. But it's just having that kind of dialogue and that ability for open expression is really important. So I'd ask them in one of the meetings, I said, you know, you're a thought leader. And they're kind of like looking at me. And some of these are, you know, they were like assistant managers, which is like the entry level, like all the way up to like a senior director. And I always treat everyone like the same. It didn't matter who it was, because we're all there, and every role is important. So they all were asked to do, okay, I want you to project what you think Google, and pick Google or Twitter, and project what you think they're going to be doing in 6 months. And they were all surprised. And then they all shared, as a group, they shared what they had come up with. And I honestly think they were surprised, because you know way more than you know that you know. And to give yourself credit for that, the fact that you're in school. And I'll say that the other thing that, you know, people will say, like, oh, you know, every book has been, every concept has already been, everything's kind of out there. Your version of it isn't. You have your own voice. There's no one else on this planet like you. And to be able to voice your view of this thing that happened with, I'm at the Ministry of International Business, I think it was the SBA event the other night, you know, so, I mean, having an opinion, or having the ability to speak about, you know, and you'll be conscious of what you're saying, but you know more than you realize. And, you know, there are people in the U.S. that you know things that, like, they don't know. I was actually talking about, you know, like, millennials wanting to come here, like, you have so much knowledge that they would love to have. They have no idea what's involved to, say, come to the island, experience it, or whatever is involved with that. So, the other thing is, if you haven't reserved your own name, get your name. If it's available, reserve it, because you can put your own information up about you. There's another site I'll tell you about that you can use, which is what I used for this event. I guess they used my bio, but it's the about.me. it's free. You can put a picture. They've upgraded it actually just recently, so you can put a picture. You can say, I'm a student graduating soon. I'm pursuing opportunities in this area. That's the same thing you can do. Let me go back to LinkedIn for just a second, and I'll go back to about me. LinkedIn is a search engine for professionals. So that subject line that you say, whatever's in that, you can look at mine because I purposely put the keywords in it that I put so that someone like Robin could find me. Because I put millennial mentor, put, global world leader, something, all of the things that I'm professionally interested in. You do that, and then as recruiters are looking for people, they'll type in Barbados finance, Barbados marketing, Barbados student of finance, whatever the let me ask, what are some of the studies that you all are in? Psychology? What was that? Accounting. Spanish.
Human resources.
Oh, awesome.
Linguistics.
Wow. Wow. Any others? Anyone else want to share what you're studying?
Math and economics.
So you can use those terms. I mean, people looking for people with economics, and I'll say that going back to the Isaac organization, part of the other thing that they do is they help them line up with internships. And they help them, get leadership training and all that. But you can do it in spite of that. You can still do that yourself. And the other thing I'll say is, one of the challenges, it's the chicken and the egg with millennials. So you go through school, and you may or may not, I worked through school, so I did have experience by the time I was out, so it did help me land my first job. But if you don't have experience, then it's like you've gone through school and then you're trying to find a job, like you don't have any experience. So you're like, okay, great, I can't get a job that pays anything, so I'm just gonna go back and get a master's. When I got 2 big student loans hanging over your head. So whatever you can do to get some experience, even if it's, you take on a month project or you do a pro bono something with some company, just to get your feet wet, to get something you can put on that resume that you've done. Because that will buy you so much when you go into someone else and actually talk about a longer term commitment of a job. So those are like little things you can do. And I say little, but they're really big. The person that's interviewing you, they don't care whether you got paid or not for that HR role that you offered to step in and help them with sourcing, or the economics, you went in somewhere and helped them do something and you were able to do this and this and this and you shadowed them. Even if you can shadow someone, you'll learn so much. One, it'll help you confirm that, yeah, I do really want to do this, or it could be like, I did an internship with a newspaper one summer and I thought, I wanted to be, well, I didn't want to be a journalist, I wanted to be a copywriter. And my advisor was like, copywriting? He's like, you needed, so whatever he saw in me wasn't copywriting territory, I guess. But I got an opportunity to see what I didn't want to do. Like I didn't want to work in the newspaper industry. I was like doing ad sales and that kind of thing. So you'll get a good sense when you go somewhere and have an experience to actually do something, whether they pay you or you're able to even negotiate something with them. So you got the job, which is the good part. You'll eventually get a job, and you're in the driver's seat, honestly, and like I say, talk to them and get to know them just as much as they're getting to know you. I think we get caught in that mode of like, oh, the big employer and the little me. I mean, I was there, and then at one point I was like, wait a second, like, I'm interviewing them, just like they're interviewing me. I'm going to ask them questions, and the questions like, what is your 5-year plan, or other employees who have left here recently, what would they say about the company, or what are your values as a company? What would you say your values are? Because then you get them talking about, how do you handle employee reviews? What is your process for employee reviews? I'd just like to have an idea. Talking to them, I'm wanting to make a commitment with a company that I have an opportunity to grow with. What are promotions like here? The last promotions over the past year, were they internal or were they, did you bring people from the outside in to take those more senior roles? Because I went through all of that. Like, I was like, I'm ready, and I was like, who's this cat coming in? And like, they took the job, and I was equipped to do it. But asking some of those things before you get in there is really, because those are questions that you won't feel like asking once you get inside. Like, how do you handle salary treatment? Once you're the employee, you're like, hey, when am I going to get a raise? Then you become like, oh, the pain in the side. They're already asking for a raise, and they just started 2 months ago. Like, geez, Louise. And that's how it's perceived. But if you ask going in, and then also I'll say with salaries, as far as negotiating a salary, make sure you know or get as much information as you can about the salaries of the role similar to what you're going into. And I say sometimes, it's good to shoot high because they'll always try to back you down a little bit. If they don't give you what you want, negotiate up front to say, okay, within what period can we say in 6 months that we'll review this again and I'll be bumped to that salary. And the other thing that I've heard now that is happening with some of the consulting firms is, I think it's PwC that does this, if they can't give you everything you want salary-wise, say, well, okay, how do you feel about offsetting my student loans $100 a month, and then you can write it off as a training, whatever write-off that they would use. But to help you and lift that burden up off of you. You're a great asset to them because the experience you have, you're coming in fresh, you've had the most recent training and knowledge of what's being taught in the school system, and they've got what they've been doing. So you're bringing value to them. So remember that. Even though you don't have, so this is actually Priority One actually sponsored me to come be able to speak with you. So definitely go see them. We're actually doing an event also. Today's Thursday, Saturday. So I got it in here. But Monique has a company. She worked for a company herself for a long time, and she now has stepped out and is working with young professionals, to help you get additional training, to help you get job placement, maybe get some experience. It may not be like a long-term, but you get in there, maybe you do it for a little bit, a couple months, and then they want to bring you on full time. So she's a great resource. Let nothing hold you back. The good news is if you think it's possible, it's possible. The bad news is if you don't think it's possible, it won't be possible. So it's going to be whatever you tell yourself that is real, because we create our own reality. So answers, next exit. So I actually stayed up really late last night setting this up. I'm actually starting free coaching and like group coaching. I did this actually in New York. I only did one session, and I had my Google rep, and I had someone from GSK, some of my clients, and then an agency. But to hear each other's questions is really key, to be able to know how to handle it. Because once you get out there, then you've got like real things happening that this would be great to be able to talk about. So, and this is the skill mill. So this is going to be this Saturday from 11 to 1. I actually fly out at 3:30 or 3:49 that day or something, but I'm actually facilitating it. And we're going to do a workshop around your skills and looking at your life. So there's a wheel of life. So how satisfied are you with your spirituality? How about your career? How about where you live? How about your physical condition? All those things, we're going to do an exercise around that, and then also talk about other career-related things that we won't get to talk about here today. So if you want to, I know Monique has a sign-up sheet, I think, outside, down at her spot, so go say hi and let her know you're here if you're interested, and that would be awesome to see you again on Saturday. So that is the end of my, one last. This is the mobile app that I'm here launching, so before you all leave the room, if there's Wi-Fi, go on and download this app. This is actually an opportunity also, which Monique is working on us with, for job opportunities. So we're launching the app. We actually have a meeting with Massey this afternoon and Simpson Motors. We've already met with Matt. We're meeting with all the big companies as well as small companies, like getting everyone on board, because it can bring foreign exchange to the island, and it also helps students because you can do this probably and make more than you would in a minimum wage job. So there's information about this that I know Monique is gonna be helping to communicate. I don't know if we're gonna do some of it Saturday, maybe some of it Saturday. But anyway, this is something else to be aware of. So there's like gamification in there, there'll be promotions. We're gonna try to tie in the Massey card so that it's kind of integrated. We just met with Sagicor a little bit ago. Or Guardian, yeah, Guardian is such a person. So anyway, that's one last thing I wanted to let you know about. And then I don't know if there is time for questions. Do we have time for questions or do I talk too long? Okay, okay. So thank you so much for your patience and listening so intently.